Dun, 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 dun. Ba-ba-dum. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to a little live Q&A here with me, Zee Garcia. I hope everybody's doing well this morning. It's morning for me anyway. I don't know. Around the world, it might be deep in the night for you. Let me just check here what the comments are saying. And then I'll be jumping around over to Q&A, the website, and I will be answering some questions over there, so you can go ask some questions over there. Upvote the ones you like. I'll go ahead and answer those, work my way down the list. It doesn't look like there's a lot of comments in YouTube itself. There's one that Tom made under the Dice Tower name, and then one question, and then some weird nonsensical person like screaming in Cthulhu gibberish. So not a lot of activity over here. So I might be jumping over there early. And I might come back and forth. You know, I might do this for a while and then jump over to Q&A.com and do that. But anyway, let me see how it's looking on that website. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you're watching this, then the comments there, you check that link like the Dice Tower comment there says, and jump over there and ask some questions. Alright, I got 28 questions over here. Let's refresh this. I think I'm just going to start knocking these out. Before I do that, I got some questions here on YouTube, so I'll do those, okay? I got 2 questions so far. Let's get those out of the way. Alright, my first question over here says, what makes card games so great in your opinion? Well, it's a combination of things, really. I like that card games are very portable. Card games tend to be simpler to play. They tend to be simpler to set up. I can usually get someone to sit down at the table and be willing to learn a card game without being intimidated by the game itself, because sometimes, games can be scary looking. Sometimes you'll put a game out. It happens to me even, and I think I'm a seasoned gamer, but you put a game on the table, you have a bunch of tracks and bits and things, and you look at it and go, ooh, this is going to be tough to learn. And I think card games can kind of get around that just to get somebody to sit at the table. Then on top of that, of course, I like card games because they usually, not always, but usually can find a nice balance between the luck that you get from shuffling a deck of cards and the tactics that come from having a hand of cards and being able to choose when you do what. It's a combination of things. I don't know, I like cards. I like dice as a thing in games, but some people just say, a deck of cards, it's so old-fashioned or so random, and they prefer dice. I like both. I really like a game if it's just a deck of cards and it looks interesting. I don't turn away from that. Alrighty. Let's see what else. Somebody's saying that Q&A doesn't work on Safari. I don't know. I'm using Chrome myself. It seems to be working just fine. If you've got Firefox as a backup, then go ahead and use that. I'm not sure why it's not working on Safari. Okay, somebody's asking me a question about how badly did it hurt when Sam backhanded my head. And they're talking about when I shot one of my shorts for Board Game Blender when we do the terms explained bit. Sam, one of those times, actually missed and hit me, but he really barely grazed me, and it scared him more than it did anything to me. He just brushed my head, but then he freaked out about it because he thought he really hit me. But he barely touched me. He's really weak anyway. Sort of like getting punched by a baby. All right. Nick here is asking me, do you like to use BGG for community functions, forums, etc., or do you prefer other social media for that? Well, my main board gaming related social media that I use is Twitter. That's my main outlet for board game related anything. Having said that, Twitter does not really have forums or the ability to engage in sort of like a clean discussion of something, because it starts tagging people on, and then eventually with your 140 character limit, you're asking, like, you have at 30 people, and your question is how ? And that's all you can fit in there. So yeah, BGG is a solid setup for that, but I prefer Twitter for sort of more relaxed chatting and that sort of thing. My Twitter handle is @ZEE_Garcia. Hey Z, why do you and Tom collect so many games? I think I just like having a collection that's large enough that I can use it to fit any sort of event I want, any gaming occasion that I might need a game for. I also don't want to own a game that I think is not necessarily going to get played. Typically, I do have some games that don't really come out very often, but I'm not willing to part with them. I enjoy them. I enjoy owning them, or I enjoy pulling them out and looking at it and setting it all up every now and then. It's ultimately a functional collection, but it is a collection. It's like people who collect coins. You don't go and spend them. You look at them and you display them and that sort of thing. I think that's part of it. For me, anyway. I can't speak for Tom. And this is the part I hate about YouTube, that it jumps around and I lost my place. Someone's saying, can you kill the term filler like you killed the term Ameritrash? I like the small footprint, quick games, and hate the term filler. It's a misnomer. First of all, I don't think I killed the term Ameritrash. I just don't like that term, because I don't care if gamers among gamers say Ameritrash, because we know what we're talking about. But you say that term to someone who isn't in this little bubble of ours, and it doesn't sound right. Ameritrash. So bad games, got it. I'll be avoiding those, and that's not cool, So I figured the easiest way to get people to continue using a term they like and make it sound less, negative from the outside looking in, is to change it just slightly. So Amerithrash, I've really been saying it for a while. It's like, it's like a rock and roll thrash. Let's throw down and throw some dice and throw some punches, and that's the kind of vibe that I get from that style of game. I don't think I killed Ameritrash, but I prefer Amerithrash, so I say it. I like the term filler, but even if I didn't, though, I don't know what I would replace it with. It just makes sense, and it's not. I don't think it's a bad thing. The game fills time. It's about what you mean by filler. You know what I mean? It's not a mindless filler. If it was called mindless filler, I'd have a problem with that. Maybe it's not mindless. It's fun, but filler. Whereas it fills a small amount of time. It's a quick game to get in there. I'm okay with that term. All right, let's see. It's bizarre. All right, hold on, guys. I'm finding questions here. I'm still on YouTube, by the way. I will jump over to Q&A in a bit. Okay, this is a good question. It says, at what point, this is Ken asking me At what point does your job of playing new games for game reviews bleed into just playing a new game because you want? A lot of the game playing I do of new games now is a game that I intend to review, and so I'll play it, several times, and then I'm ready to do a review of it. If I know, I guess the point where it moves over to, I really want to play that game, even though I'm not planning on reviewing it, is if one of the other guys is planning on reviewing it. If it's a game that I know Sam intends to tackle soon, it's a game that I know Tom is going to be reviewing, but I'm very excited about the game as well. I want to jump in on that game, even though I know it's technically not work. For me, it really is work because they need to play it, and so I'm helping them get that game played. As far as playing games that I've already reviewed, playing games that are older games that I don't need to review, it happens, especially if I get together with folks that are not necessarily part of our main core of gamers that are, knocking out all the new hotness. Then I'll try to pull something out I haven't played in a while and get that played too. Because, these games, the wonderful thing about board gaming is that unlike video games, if I go back now and I fire up my Nintendo 64, I'm like, ooh, these graphics have not aged well. Well, the board game doesn't suffer from that problem. It never breaks, it doesn't get dusty inside and suddenly stop working, and it doesn't change. Now, I change, I might eventually go back and play a game and go, this is not as good as I remember it. That's fine. And I guess ultimately that's the same thing with the graphics. They don't actually get worse. It's just they've come so far. But it's much more obvious. And so I like to go back and get those older games played because they're great still. Right, let's see. Boo, 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 boo. I'm looking around. Okay, what is it in Onarim that you like so much? The simplicity meets the tension. I like that the choices are few, but they're clever. I think it's the kind of game that is very... once you know the game, you can almost play on autopilot, and I like that. It's a very soothing game for me, while still being punctuated by moments of tension. And I think that's a good combination. I prefer it solo, and I really like all the expansions. So every now and then, depending on how adventurous I want to feel, if I'm just like, I just want to do something a little bit easy and mindless and just relax, then I'll just play the base game. Otherwise, I'll throw in one of the expansions, maybe one of the lesser played ones, and feel like I'm exploring something new. But yeah, that game is brilliant. What is the shortest game time-wise you've played and still enjoyed? That's a good question. Don't know. Let me jump over here and look at short games. I do a lot of tagging on my games, just so that I'm able to find whatever I want, and one of my tags is time. So I'll tag games like 0 to 30 minutes, 30 to 60 minutes. Short game that I still enjoyed, it's probably a card game. It might be like a trick-taking game. I played a trick-taking game called Crazy Lab, which is probably like 15 minutes. It's a really good game. Crazy Lab, trick-taking game. I also like the games in the Paco games. Some of those are really good, and they're very small, and they're very quick. Like Gem, like Bus. Those are great. I like, this is a bigger game, but it's very quick. Witness, which is a game that Starry put out. Takes like 15 minutes also. Really quick to play one case, 15, 20 minutes. And that gives you not just a quick playing time, but it gives you an original game with a very unique sort of play style and a thematic thick layer on top of that. So Witness is really cool. Check that out. The downside of that one is you need exactly 4 players. Z, how do you pronounce Familia? I think I pronounce it Famiglia. Was there ever a small card game that lasted for hours? I don't know. I can't think of one right now. Maybe some Civ game that I haven't played. I don't know. 51st State can be long. I don't know about hours, but it's, you're looking at 90 minutes for that game. Imperial Settlers, which is based on the same game, can be long, especially if you play with more players. Both of them are really meaty, very deep games. Really good, but they're longer. I've never heard you give your opinions on the classic trick-taking games, Spades, Hearts. Do you like those? How would you rank them among the myriad of boxed trick-taking games? Yeah, I like those. Those are fine games. There's a few trick-taking games I enjoy more than others of the classic ones, like Euchre, I think, is fun. Mindless, fairly mindless, but fun. There's a couple of them on BGG I've come across, which are not technically classic games, but they use a basic deck of cards, which can be fun. I guess I've liked some of the things that newer trick-taking games have been able to do. I like if the deck is themed. It helps a little bit, If nothing else, it helps me teach the game. It helps me look at pretty cards while I'm playing. Not to say that a deck of cards cannot be pretty. I like decks of cards, actually. I collect some. So, yeah, I like them. I just don't really play them very often. It's sort of like saying, do you like poker? I love poker. I just don't play it very often. So that's why I don't talk about it too much. All right, let's see. Dice Tower are now using a new system for asking questions and not referring to YouTube questions. Technically, yes, but I'm also answering these. Hey Z, do you collect games of your favorite publishers, if you have any? No, I don't really collect games sight unseen like that. My favorite designer is Bruno Catala. I've gotten rid of several Bruno Catala games, either because I didn't like them very much, or there were games that never hit the table for me, or there was another game which I felt was too similar, whatever. But, so-and-so is my favorite designer, or this company is my favorite publisher, so I'm going to collect all these games. Not really. In fact, I had, just till very recently, I had a complete set of the GIF series of games, and I just recently got rid of Punkt because I didn't like it that much. It's my least favorite from the set, and when it comes out and hits the table, I just don't have a lot of fun with that one. Why would I keep that one around and play it when I can play one of the other ones, which I do like a lot? They all play 2 players. They all take about the same number of, and same amount of time. They're all pretty, but I'm not going to hang on to the game if it's not enjoyable to me just because it completes a set or something. I can get over that. Do you have any particular house rules for particular games you like? I can't think of any, so I'm going to say no. Can you mark questions as answered in Q&A? I don't think I can mark them on here. What's the last game you played after which you said, wow? That would be King Chocolate. And I said wow as in, wow, Tom, I super hate you. Have you played Urbion? Yes, I have. I just recently did a review of Castellion and a review of Sylvion. I compared them both to each other and to Oniron, but I did not compare them to Urbion because, they're kind of ignoring it. The company is, until they reprint it in that same boxed line themselves. And so I'm going to wait for that to happen. I don't know when, but once that happens, then I'll review that and compare to the other ones. But yes, I played the original one, and which is called it was called Urbion, but at first Equilibrium, and then they changed it. Anyway, we'll see what they do with it. As of right now, out of all 4 games in that line, I like Urbion the least. But maybe once they reprint it, they'll throw some expansions in there, I'm sure. And maybe I'll like it a little bit better. It's alright, I don't dislike it. I own it still, but I'll see what they do with it before I give it a review and dig into it. After playing Pandemic Legacy, do you still enjoy the original Pandemic as much as you used to? Absolutely, yeah. Pandemic, to me, is like a song that I really, really like, and when it comes on, I'm like, yeah, I love this song. This is a great song. I can bob my head along to it. Pandemic Legacy is like a good series on TV, which is great, and you watch it the first time, and you're like, what? I didn't see that coming. Ooh, and then you watch it again, and you're like, oh, yeah, that was cool. Oh, I like that moment. Yeah, but you've seen it. And so, yes, I could play Pandemic Legacy again and enjoy it again, just like a TV series I like, but those kind of surprising moments are gone, whereas with a song, that familiarity only makes you like that song more. You can kind of groove along to it. That's how I feel about those 2 games. Do you do any hobby gaming stuff, either tabletop war games or painting up board game minis? I don't do either one of those things. I never got into wargaming. I don't like the imprecise nature of having to measure. And I never got into painting because, I never got into painting. And then I've done a little bit of role-playing, but really just a little bit. I did it for a couple months or so. Enjoyed it, but never felt the need to get back into it. Hey Z, have you ever bought anything off eBay? Yes. I am super tempted to buy a game, but I really fear about getting scammed. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. That happens sometimes. It's happened to me. I don't know. Maybe look on BGG if the game's there, I guess. That might be a better system. I'm not sure. I jumped! All right. Do you play any pen and paper RPGs? Like I said, I played a little bit. I played Pathfinder. You rated Time Stories a 10. Is it because of the asylum scenario? Or is that because of the Time Story system, regardless of the scenario? Well, I'll tell you, if I ever feel like 10 is too much, I'll go back in and change it. I update my ratings fairly regularly. And I did rate it a 10 after that asylum scenario, though, yes, I liked it a lot. I played the second scenario, and I still thought it was really good, though I definitely liked the first one more, but I wouldn't change my rating. I think both the system of Time Stories and the scenarios that I've played so far, just 2, warrant and merit that 10 rating. It's a very original, engaging system, in my opinion, and so I gave it a 10. I'm looking forward to this new one, though, with a little trepidation, because fantasy is not my favorite genre, and it seems like a weird sort of sidestep to go from this sci-fi setting with realistic locations to suddenly hear some dwarves and dragons and stuff. I hope that's good, but I'm gonna hold reservation. I'm gonna wait till I play it, obviously, because I don't know. I know it's early, but what are your thoughts on Matt Leacock making a party game? There's not a lot of details as of yet, but I'm not sure about Nitwit. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Kaylin. I looked at the cover, I looked at the bits. It looked like he made that game on a dare. Like somebody was like, "I bet you cannot make a game with whatever's in this drawer, but you have to say yes or no before I open it." He's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." It's clothespins and string. And so I don't know. I hope it's good. He's done really good differing games so far. Now, I don't think he's done a party game before, but I like his Roll Through the Ages game, which is not really anything like Pandemic at all or co-op at all. So I don't know. I'm going to hold off on that one, but it sure looks good. Weird, bizarre, but good. And it's got good graphic design. The pictures I've seen so far look interesting. I just have no idea what the game's about. Z, when you review a game, do you try to let your personal bias aside? I guess you mean do I try to put my personal bias aside? No. That's what reviewing means. That means I'm reviewing the game. So I'll tell you what I think of the game. If I try to put my bias aside, it's not a review. It's I guess at that point I'm just giving you sort of an explanation of the game as opposed to a review of the game. Now, when I do my overview of the game, I'll try to just tell you what the game's about. I don't do a walkthrough. I'm not teaching you the game. I'm showing you the game. I'm telling you this is basically how this works. But no, I don't put my own bias aside. That's the point of me reviewing. You sort of have to do a little bit of the work and get to know my tastes in games to see if that's useful to you. You know, if I agree with you, then that might be useful. If I disagree with you fairly consistently, that's also useful. But I think it's important to understand that everything I say in a review is in my opinion. I don't like saying that all the time in front of every sentence, but it's a given. You know, I would hope everybody would understand that every time I make a statement, at the beginning of that statement are the implied words, in my opinion. Whoops, this jumped again. I'm going to be moving over to the questions, I think, on Q&A pretty soon, folks. We're about halfway there, so I'll jump over and do the other half over there, but let's see if I can knock out some questions right here. What's the game you're most excited to play which remains unopened on your shelf? Don't have any unopened games. You mentioned you collect decks of playing cards. Do you ever back any of the awesome decks on Kickstarter? Absolutely. Do you have a favorite? I do. My favorite is, I forget who it's from right now, but it's called Calaveras. And I guess I could do the burrito thing and say Calaveras. Right, Tom? And but yeah, Calaveras, look that up. It's got like a Day of the Dead sort of theme to it. And I forget the guy's name now, but he's an amazing visual artist. Do you ever feel the need to pretend you are really busy when Tom walks into the room? No. I'm probably really busy, or I'm doing something game related anyway, like looking through news or looking at a game or something. So, no. Just got a copy of Tied to Time today. Have you burned out on it yet? No, I have not. I haven't played it too much either, though, to be honest with you. But no, I think it's awesome. I store my small games in like a big bin, kind of. And sometimes the ones in the back get a little bit forgotten. Unfortunately, it's just the volume, But I think I need to pull it out and like put it on the table so I remember to give it some love. But no, I love that game. I really enjoy that game. I'm not burnt out on it. All right. Thanks for your Rendezvous with Ramen recommendation. Alliteration. You mentioned it on one of your shows, enjoying the book thoroughly. Awesome, Renee. I'm glad to hear that. It is a great book. I read the ones after that, and I was not as interested in the sequels. There's a few sequels. But yeah, that original one of my favorite sort of exploration, first contact kind of books out there. Really awesome sci-fi book. Can you explain the difference between Dice Tower Approved, Excellent, and Into My Collection? Do you have a Z's Into My Collection? I believe Tom is the one who knows the ins and outs of all of this, but it's basically based on a rating. So if it gets from a certain score and above, then it'll be excellent. If it gets a certain score and above that, it'll be approved. And then into my collection just means Tom's keeping it. Obviously, I don't say it in my videos, but if I give a game a certain score, it is also excellent. And if I give a game a certain score, it is also approved. I just don't mention that in my videos. So, there's that. Hi Z, have you tried 5 Tribes Solo yet? No, I'm working on it, folks. I'm working on it. And Ted says I look nice today. Thank you, Ted. Appreciate that.
Ted's a liar.
Shut your mouth, Tom. Ted thinks I look nice today. Any thoughts on those games like 504 and that sort of game toolboxes? I don't know about any other ones, but 504 was really boring, what I played of it. So, cool idea. It's a nice experimental thought, and then kudos to Freedom and Freeze for even making that thing. I can't wrap my head around even being able to create this thing. But is it a fun game? No, I don't think. Again, in my opinion.
Halfway.
All right. And I just hit the bottom of this bad boy, so I'm going to jump over to Q&A and do those questions. Let's refresh this bad boy. Dang, 70 questions. Whew. Here we go. Z, what are your favorite lazy evening games? I like Onirim a lot, as I said, if I'm going to play something solitaire. Otherwise, I like card games, typically something very easy, something not very demanding of you. Trick-taking games are a good lazy evening games, things like that. I enjoy a game called Drive, which has been reprinted a few times. It was called Crazy Chicken or something, and then it was called Drive. And then it was called... What's the new one called? Tom, what's that new one called? Do you remember?
I apologize, do what?
Drive, the new name for Drive.
Let
me find it.
Something, I'll look it up. You keep going.
I got it. I'm looking for it.
Something about samurai.
Yeah, it's like a ninja theme. Call to Glory. Call to Glory is a good one. Nice, easy, simple card game. That sort of thing. Even not even games with bluffing, because I think if it has too much bluffing, it makes you sort of be like, oh, too much. Just easy card play, How did the gaming marathon go for you? Would you improve? What would you do to improve the next time you do a marathon? Do you think you convince Tom to do it again next year, or is that a lost cause?
Like you're the one convincing.
Yeah, I'm not the one convincing him for sure. It's up to the man to do that. It went fine for me. I think I was energetic and stayed alert through the whole thing. I was having a good time. The games were for the most part entertaining and very engaging. There were a couple of games I did not play in, but that was good because it allows you to take a little bit of a break. It worked out for me. I'm still not convinced that it necessarily needs to be 24 hours. I mean, and it wasn't really. It was like 21 hours. But it also does make it like an event. If we say we're going to do this for 24 hours, fellas, then it's like, oh, rah, rah. So I like that aspect of it. But it was great. I had a blast doing it. And I got to play a lot of games that I knew I liked already, which was a big part of our plan for this time around was go into it with games we are familiar with, games we know can look good or be fun, and within that, of course, give ourselves some leeway because you don't want to just play party games for 24 hours either. Z, isn't Tom a great guy? You know who asked this question?
Sam Healy.
Tom. He was the first. He put this question in here to test the system this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that question. Yes, delete. All right, that's gone. How much does theme affect your liking for a game? How about visual appeal? What are your favorite themes? Tell you what, visual appeal is a big part of what draws me into a game. Even if the theme is not that exciting. For example, I'm not a huge fantasy guy. I don't necessarily love fantasy themes. But if the game has really cool fantasy artwork, original artwork, unique artwork, then I'm all, I'm over it. I want to check this game out. Because games are, it's what makes a board game different from playing like Skyrim. I'm manipulating bits. I'm looking at artwork in my hands. You get to do these things tactically, and you get to, and by tactile, I mean, you get to be part of how this operates. And I think good artwork goes a long way in bringing you into that setting. Now, that obviously ties into the theme, and yeah, theme is important for me, but ultimately not as much as how good the game looks, which is why I'm a big fan of abstract games. I don't care. There's no theme. The games look, if the look of the game is amazing, the bits are great, then I'm all over it, My favorite themes are probably sci-fi themes, and I like real-world settings also, modern ones, not necessarily Renaissance themes or anything like that, But Mark answered. Okay. Outside of Dice Tower, are there any board game reviews that you watch, keep up with? It's hard to keep up with anybody. I definitely like Rodney Smith from Watch It Play It. I think he does awesome stuff, and it's different enough from the kind of things that we do, where I can watch it and how to explain it. It's like if I am a stage actor, for lack of a better comparison, and I go see plays. I love seeing plays, but it's hard to turn that thing off in the back of my head where I'm looking at their performance going, that was a weird choice. Not sure why he did that there. Oh, that was a strange cross. Well, dude, you got caught in an awkward pose right there. Fix it. Rebalance. That sort of thing. So, movies, I can't do that because I'm not as well versed in movies. And it's the same thing. If I watch Rodney Smith, he does something I definitely do not do. And so I enjoy watching him. But, all of these guys, everybody has really their own thing. I like that everybody's got their own flavor. I really like Rodney Smith's stuff. Do you generally find yourself playing games more for the games or the people? How does this apply to solo play? Well, definitely for the people first, which means when I play solo games, that's the best experience I could possibly have. Because there are no other people. And I hate people. No, yes, but for the people, yes. Definitely for the people first. I will play a so-so game with friends and have a good time. I will play a great game and have a weird environment or people that seem to be standoffish, and I will not enjoy Pandemic, my favorite game. It can ruin that game session. So it has to be about the people. Or again, we go back to playing solitaire video games or a solitaire board game. Obviously, when I play a solitaire game, that does not come into effect. It's a pastime. At that point, it's just like doing a crossword puzzle for me or anything. I'm just manipulating some stuff as a way to de-stress, as a way to kill some time, which is why I prefer the solitaire games that are on the really simple side of the spectrum, because that's what I'm using them for. It's not to manipulate 1,000 bids. It's not to play for 3 hours. It's something I can do for 20 minutes and feel good afterwards. Like, okay, cool, I'm settled. I've now engaged in some activity, and that was fun. And now I can put this away. All right. Do you always play games with the same group of people, Tom, Sam, etc., or do you have a different group of people you play games with on a regular basis? On a regular basis, no, these guys on our game group. However, I do sometimes play with a group of friends that are not really gamers, and they'll sort of, they enjoy games, but they're not necessarily like, what's the latest game? We must play the latest game. And I enjoy that quite a bit too. It lets me get some lighter games played. They come at it from a totally different point of view. Really, it's not like, oh, this mechanism was done 10 years ago when they did this tile laying game. And it's very refreshing, to play with a group like that where they're going, oh, cool, look at this card, it does this thing. And us jaded gamers are going, oh, look at that. That feels good to see that. So yeah, it's not a regular thing, but I sometimes will play with college friends and things like that. Do you have a favorite Dice Tower video that you've been a part of? Oh, man. I don't know. I've enjoyed... I enjoy all of it. Maybe... I'll tell you what. One that sticks out in my mind because I had a lot of fun with it was we did a top 10 weird gaming components. And I brought a bunch of stuff from a bunch of games. It was like a show and tell. That one I remember being really fun because it was just... We were being silly, and I was showing off all these weird bits and chucking them at the camera and stuff, so look at that one. I had a blast with that. You come across as a very private person, so does it give you some pause, or do you hesitate to open yourself up publicly on YouTube where the videos are available all the time to be seen by everyone? Wait, I thought YouTube videos were deleted like after a day. Is that not how that works?
2 days.
2 days. Oh, okay, good. I was worried there for a second. All right. No, I think you're right. I am a private person. I behave that way and I carry myself that way. But the video on YouTube is not me telling you anything personal. It's me explaining a board game. And I can be sociable. I can converse with people, and I can be personable. Is that a word? Why would I ask you? But as far as being private about my private life, yeah, sure. That's got nothing to do with it. It's two unrelated things ultimately. When I was acting on stage, same thing, and that's even more personal because I'm being emotional on stage. I'm you'll pardon the being cheesy for a moment here, but I am bearing a part of my soul at least, but I still was private when I was on stage. So with the plethora of games to review, is it difficult to remember all the rules for every game? Yeah, I guess, sure, but I mean the rules are right there in the box. You can always pull it out and check it, and the thing I forget the most is always like the how many cards do we get to start with? How many of them go up on, face up on the table? That sort of stuff is always gone. The next day it's gone. I have to check it again. If it's the more integral parts of the game, then I tend to remember that stuff. How do you store games? Do you discard inserts and such and just put game components in containers or bags? Depends on the game, ultimately. If it's got a great insert that works for me, I'll keep that insert. If it's got a garbage insert and it's annoying to put everything back, or it isn't helping my storage, then I chuck it. It's just an insert. It's there to help me put that game away. And if it's doing a bad job at that, and bags will do a better job, then bags it is. I store most games horizontally, though there are a few games I store vertically. If the components moving around in there it doesn't matter. But yeah, bags typically, I don't really go too much for like the plain old box things. But Ziploc bags and throw them in there. I take care of my games considerably, but if bags is the best thing, then that's what's the best thing. Hi, Zee. Would you like to come to Estonia? Alina can knit a sweater for you. Guys, I would love to come to Estonia. I'm on my way. As soon as I shut this down, I'm going to start walking that way. I will be there eventually. No, I would love to go. That would be awesome. For the Dice Tower cruise, do you plan to do any off-the-boat excursions while in port? Snorkeling, beach, etc.? I don't know. I'll tell you, I would love... I was reading somebody's comment. I forget where. The other day, where they were talking about, when I go to Cozumel, I want to go look at... I guess it's some ruins that are there, and that's something I would love to do, being able to take some of that in. Because that's fascinating stuff, I might do that. I might go on like an excursion like that. The beach, I doubt it. I'm not much of a beach person. Snorkeling, I doubt it. But taking in some of the history, taking in some of the sights and some of the sounds, I think I'm going to try to get some of that done. Just curious, how much time during the week, an estimate, do you spend on the board game hobby, time at work, and time after work? Man, I don't know, maybe, jeez, it's a lot. 14 hours a day, maybe? Something like that? And I'm including like weekends into that, so maybe I take some of that down. What did you write down there, Tom?
I wrote the word lies.
Lies. It's 12 to 14 hours a day probably where I'm doing this. Then I'll go home. I'm doing research for a top 10. Then I'm actually playing a game. Then I'm just on BGG browsing through games. In some way or another, a bunch of hours a day. When you go to a convention, what activities outside of the con itself do you try to do? Have dinner somewhere that's not at the convention. But Tom's a big believer in that, so that works out well. Other than that, it depends where the convention is, I guess. If I go to Indianapolis, Indiana, I'm there for the convention, and I'll go eat. If I go somewhere spectacular, that the town itself is really cool, or there's something there that is hard to see somewhere else, I'll try to go do that. But typically, I'm there for the con. Deception Murder in Hong Kong or Mysterium? I like Deception better. Let me refresh this bad boy just to make sure nothing's jumped up here. Excuse me. If you can say on camera, what are some annoying habits that Tom has? Or Sam and yourself, when you guys are together in gaming and outside of gaming? I don't know. I guess for me, annoying habits, man. Tom, what's my annoying habit? The most annoying?
Your temperature.
Okay, yeah, I get warm very easily. This is notwithstanding, but I run very, I guess cold. Whatever, I get warm very easily. And so when everybody else is freezing, I'm like, dude, turn down the AC. So there's that. Tom, I don't know. Tom does this thing where if you ask him a question or you need to find something else, something out, he'll do the whole, this is how he does it. So you ask him like, Tom, you going to post this now or post it in 1 hour? And he goes, I don't care. I don't care. Post it now. Where he like gives you this whole, I don't know, I don't care. But then he actually does know and care. I think it's a defense mechanism because he really likes us a lot. And he's trying to push us away. Oh, and Sam. I'm not going to answer for Sam because throw punch. What is your favorite module in Pandemic? I like the, what is that called? The Virulent Strain cards. The Epidemic cards that are orange or yellow or whatever they are. Those. That's my favorite thing. Since you are not a fan of long games, what is the longest game you have ever played and completed? I played StarCraft. Took about 6 hours. As a Dice Tower employee, when do you have to start work? Do you work 9 to 5? It's 9 to 5-ish, yeah. Depends on the day. Depends what's on the schedule. You know, if we're doing like a big 24-hour live gaming thing, that's different, right? I mean, it's if we're ramping up for a convention, it might be different. It's sometimes I got to get stuff done on Saturday. Sometimes I got to get stuff done on Sunday. It depends. But 9 to 5-ish is not uncommon. If you could have a full head of hair but never be able to grow a beard, would you do it? No. I like my beard, and I don't need hair on my head. If I could get it to not grow at all, because it's that in-between thing that's annoying where I have to shave my head. But if it could just not grow at all, that would save me a lot of time and shaving cream money. But no, I'm okay with being bald. Good. This is such a weird question. Now that you are a paid board game reviewer, do you find yourself holding up your pinky and wearing a monocle when being introduced to a new game? No? What? No. Just learning a new game, which better impress me. How about having Warful Reviews come to the U.S. for a live play? Yeah, that would be great from Estonia, absolutely. But, again, they're in Estonia. I get to see these guys when I go to Essen. I've seen them twice now. I've been to Essen twice. And it's always wonderful running into both of them. And we even got to hang out a little bit at this past Essen. And they're both great. I adore both of them. If you got sucked into a board game a la Tron and had to fight your way out, which game would you prefer? Agricola. I think I can take those farm animals. I have no idea, guys. So how about something piratey? Something cool and piratey. Dead Men Tell No Tales. Yeah. Does Tom permit you to have any input or ideas into how to improve the Dice Tower as a whole, not just Board Game Blender? The only time I'm actually allowed to speak is while I'm on the Q&A. As soon as this shuts down, I have to go back to being quiet in the corner. No, of course, we work as a unit. There's a lot of ideas that... Basically, most of his good ideas came from me. It's what you guys don't know. He just doesn't publicize this stuff. But pretty much anything that he does that you think, man, that's a good idea. Thank you, Z, should be the next sentence after that. Are there any theme or mechanics of games that you prefer over other themes of mechanics? Yes, I prefer some themes and mechanics to other themes and mechanics. Answered. What's your earliest gaming moment? Is there a game that you remember playing most when you were younger? No, I did not really play very many games when I was a young kid. I remember playing party games in high school. You know, I played Cranium and that kind of stuff. Do you have a spouse? I am not married. No. I already answered the Matt Leacock party game back on the YouTube feed there, Caitlin. So I'm going to delete this question or mark it answered. Is there a game that you liked when you were younger but now dislike? I'm sure, yeah, I would assume so. As I have gotten older, my tastes have matured. Maybe some party games, some of the simpler party games that I used to enjoy, you know, have not aged well. Now I'll play them and I'm like, oh, whatever, this game is silly. But I'll play, like when I was still teaching, I would play some party games with the kids, and they were really into it, you know, and I was like, this game is not good, but they don't know the difference. It's fun, you know, and if they're having fun with it, then the game is doing its job. It just no longer does that job for me. Any reason you're to the UK Games Expo? I don't know what that means. Like, I'm assuming you mean, and is there any reason I'm not going to the UK Games Expo? Being into acting, etc., I thought you might, since the home of Shakespeare is only a 40-minute drive away from the venue. That's very cool. Excuse me. I am not going because we cannot all go to every convention. It's not feasible. So I'm not going to the UK Games Expo. Tom will be going, Sam will be going, and that's just the way those things work. You know, sometimes it just doesn't work out where we can all go, and that's definitely one of them. I can't go. We can't all go. So Sam's going. The new Province Deluxe, yeah, it looks cool. I haven't really looked at it too much, and yeah, it's bigger, it's prettier, it's going to be more functional. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't stopped and thought about it too much because it's not here yet, but yeah, I'm sure it'll be better than the original because it's fixing some of the issues that it had. Mainly, it was too small. Y'all posted your top 10 Kickstarter games yesterday. Did we do that?
Top what?
It says y'all posted your top 10 Kickstarter games yesterday.
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so either. Is it a coincidence that all of Dice Tower crew wear glasses? No. Tom, I think, cleans his bathroom with some sort of chemical that makes you go blind, actually.
65% of people wear glasses.
Quiet, you. Chemicals. Bathroom. I'm going blind. Do you ever get burnt out on gaming, even only temporarily? I've been in a slump for a bit over a year now. That's a long time. No, nothing like that. Like, I might be not wanting to game for, like, a weekend, you know. Or if I go on vacation somewhere, I'm like, ooh, you know what? This is like a week off of gaming. And then I'll come back to it and I'll be like, my shinies again. But not for that long, a week at most. Yeah, it happens. You know, you play a lot, especially if you play a bunch of bad games back to back, which is not uncommon around here. Then you're sort of like, oh man, I don't want to do this right now. Let me go do something else. But that burnout, if you want to call it that, it's not very long. Have you ever played the trick-taking game Wizard? If so, thoughts? I think so. I don't remember it, so I can't really help you out there. When will you and Sam start designing Throw Punch, the card game? I'm going to leave that up to the big guy. Is anyone among you guys reviewing a Study in Emerald 2nd edition? Yeah, that's coming down the pipe, guys. We're working on that one. It's on the pile, anyway. Will we see at some point some kind of top 10 or top 5 card games in a little package? Yeah, I'll probably do something like that. We've started to do some individual lists, as you may have noticed from Sam's top 5 lists, and I'll be tackling some of those as well. We've had some discussions in-house here about specific themes that some of us are better at tackling versus others that might not necessarily translate well into a top 10 list with all 3 of us. And so I'm going to be tackling some top 5s with some of these themes. Tiny packaged games could quite possibly be one of them. All right. Where were you born? I was born in Cuba. What are your favorite pitching games? Like pitching something. Snake Oil is my favorite. But wait, there's more is okay. Snake Oil is my favorite. How much do you weigh aesthetics versus gameplay? Would an ugly game with solid gameplay make it to your table more or less than a beautiful game that doesn't play very well? I mean, neither combination there is good, but an ugly game with gamers Doesn't matter. I can get that probably played if I really wanted to. A pretty game that's all right with a non-gamer, I can get that played. Because, and this sounds kind of bad, but because they don't know any better. You know, and the game is pretty. I'm okay with that if everybody's having fun, which is the ultimate point here. If I'm having fun with these friends of mine who are not gamers, but look at this game and it's gorgeous and they're having a good time, I'm having a good time. Okay, let's see. Listening to some old Dice Tower podcasts, I learned that Eric has some improv/theater experience. What are the chances of you two teaming up for something, say a dramatized tale of horror, as on one of the 2016 live shows? Huh. That might be cool. That's a good idea. I'll run it by him and see what he says. I like the concept there. Yeah, that's cool. Eric's good at everything, though, is the problem. I mean, when he sings, he kills it. He knows how to play a drum like nobody's business, which was weird. Besides your annual 24 or 18-hour game marathons, how about monthly short sessions of brief party games like Deception, Spyfall, Time's Up? Those segments were great. Yeah, maybe. Again, I once this live Q&A is over, I have to be quiet, so it's up to the big guy. Ba-ba-da. Are there any good hunting-themed games that might serve as gateway games to self-confessed rednecks? I don't know. I'll tell you one game I know is hunting-themed, but it's very, very light, is Trophy Buck, which is basically the same game as Zombie Dice, almost. And it's hunting-themed. It comes in this funky camo bag, actually, with like a buck on it. And it's super mindless. It's a very simple game, but it probably would make a good gift, you know? So if you can find that, and they used to carry them at Walmart and places like that. I don't know if it's around anymore, but Trophy Buck is a really simple dice game. Just about anybody can play it, and it's hunting themed. What are your thoughts on Tail Feathers? I have not played it. No. Since I understand you and Sam have been playing, I've not played it. Sam has been playing it, though. Yes, I've seen him playing it several times. What? Delete? I have not tried Five Tribes Solo yet, but I intend to get to it at some point. And I just answered that question, but it's still there.
Time.
Go away, question, go away. Alright, well, we're running out of time here. Let me see if there's anything else I want to wrap up with. Something important. Something deep. Something that really matters. Here we go. Sprite, 7-Up, or Sierra Mist? 7-Up. It's the drink of champions. Or an energy drink. I like those too. And that kickstart that Mountain Dew makes. That's not bad. Alright, folks, I'm going to wrap this bad boy up. Oh, wait, I shouldn't say that because then Tom tells me it's not a boy. Stop calling it a boy. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate that. I will, I'm sure, do another one of these shortly. As always, thanks for joining me, and thanks for tuning into all the videos. Keep on watching Blender, please. Give us your feedback. I love to hear what you thought of the show. Whatever you want. And follow me on Twitter at ZEE_Garcia. That's the best way to get in touch with me. You can send me questions there, you know, and I can't answer everything, but it's a good way to, you know, you can find out what I'm doing, and I can find out what's going on out there in the world. So, all right, I'm wrapping this up. I will see you guys. Bye-bye.